Hello and welcome to the 7 o'clock evening news. I'm John Shelton. We begin with the main headlines. First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah praises the deeply rooted relations between Kuwait and Hungary. The United Nations says hundreds of people are killed in Iraq as the US and the UK consider military options to stop the recent violence in the country. Israeli forces clash with Palestinians as they prevent them from praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque, wounding dozens and arresting others. And Ukrainian government forces reclaim the port city of Mariupol from pro-Russian separatists after heavy fighting on the border. The First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah met today with the Hungarian Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Zsolt Zemjan, where they discussed means of bolstering bilateral relations and issues of mutual concern. The meeting came on the occasion of Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid's official visit to Hungary to celebrate the 50th anniversary of establishing diplomatic ties between both countries. The meeting was attended by the Managing Director of Kuwait Investment Authority, Bader Mohammed Al-Saad, the Director of Europe Department Ambassador Walid Ali Al-Khabazi, and Kuwait's Ambassador to Hungary, Dr. Hamad Mohammed Bourama. The First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah held official talks today with Hungarian Foreign Minister and Minister of Commerce, Dr. Tibor Navaracsics. The talks dealt with ways of boosting bilateral relations and issues of mutual interest on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of establishing diplomatic ties between both countries. The meeting was attended by the Managing Director of Kuwait Investment Authority, Bader Mohammed Al-Saad, the Director of Europe Department Ambassador Walid Ali Al-Khabazi, Director of the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Office Ambassador Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Nasser Al-Mohammed Al-Sabah, the Director General of Sheikh Dr. Mishal Jabba Al-Ahmed Jabba Al-Sabah, Director of the Legal Department, Ambassador Ghanim Saka Al-Ghanim, and a number of Foreign Ministry officials. The First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah affirmed that Kuwait's relations with Hungary are deep-rooted and are in their best condition, noting that communication between both sides is at its highest level. These comments were made at a dinner banquet hosted by Kuwait's ambassador to Hungary, Dr. Hamad Mohammed Bourama, in honor of Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of establishing diplomatic ties between both countries. The banquet was attended by Hungary's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Dr. Tibor Navaracsics. In a speech, Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid expressed the keenness of the leaders of both countries to invest in 50 years of diplomatic ties through further progress and growth to benefit the two friendly nations and peoples. For his part, the Hungarian Foreign Minister expressed appreciation over the official visit of Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid, noting the depth of bilateral relations in all domains. The event was attended by the Managing Director of Kuwait Investment Authority, Bader Mohammed Al-Saad, the Director of Europe Department, Ambassador Walid Ali Al-Khabazi, Director of the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister's Office, Ambassador Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Nasser Al-Mohammed Al-Sabah, the Director General of Sheikh Dr. Mishal Jabba Al-Ahmed Jabba Al-Sabah, Director of the Legal Department, Ambassador Ghanim Saka Al-Ghanim, a number of Foreign Ministry officials and members of the diplomatic corps accredited to Hungary. UK Foreign Secretary William Hague said today that the UK may offer assistance with counter-terrorism expertise to authorities in Iraq fighting militants. Hague held bilateral talks on Iraq with the US Secretary of State John Kerry on the sidelines of a summit in London. Kerry said US President Barack Obama held a special meeting on Iraq with US security officials, during which a range of options were discussed, including military action. Meanwhile, UN human rights spokesman Rupert Colville said today that hundreds of people were killed, many of them summarily executed, after rebels overran the Iraqi city of Mosul this week. He said Iraqi government forces had stopped people at checkpoints and prevented them fleeing Mosul, as the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, took it over. Now ISIL was using its own checkpoints to hunt down anyone associated with the Iraqi government. Israeli forces escalated violence against Palestinians in Jerusalem and south of the West Bank during the establishment of military checkpoints at city entrances, restricting the movement of Palestinians and banning them from entering Jerusalem for prayer in Al-Aqsa Mosque. From Gaza, Majid Al-Waidi has more.
Clashes broke out in Jerusalem today as the Israeli military upgraded its restrictions and closed access into the city and banned Muslims from getting to Al-Aqsa Mosque by setting up checkpoints at gates of the old city. Several were wounded in Jerusalem, one of whom in serious condition, and dozens others arrested. The city remained closed until later in the afternoon, a policy which Israel continuously uses against the city in order to isolate it.
Israel, when they close Jerusalem, as they consider as part of Israel, this is in violation of other rights for the Palestinians, which is the right of religion and the freedom of religion. While Israel is preventing the Palestinians from entering to Jerusalem, it's allowing the settlers to enter to the yards of the Aqsa Mosque.
Tension also raised in south of the West Bank, particularly in the cities of Bethlehem and Hebron, where clashes between Palestinian youth and Israeli soldiers erupted following the Friday prayers, as the Israeli army established a number of checkpoints, particularly around Hebron, and provoked Palestinians who demonstrated peacefully at the illegal checkpoints in solidarity with the Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. We marched in our demonstration. The soldiers met us and fired gas bombs. We had children with us. They were tensed and we lost them. This is for our sons in Israeli jails. We didn't come to throw stones. This is a solidarity move. The result of this violent day was the arrest of nearly 14 Palestinians, some of whom were released after several hours, while nearly 20 others were wounded as Israeli forces opened gunfire, tear gas and grenades against Palestinians. Palestinian popular struggle movements say the Israeli escalation will not stop them from continuing their peaceful protests by different means, but they call on the international community to protest the Israeli violence. Fatma Abdelkarim, Kuwait TV, Ramallah, Palestine.
If talks over the Iranian nuclear issue fail to result in a comprehensive deal, Iran will resume its high-grade uranium enrichment. Iran's senior nuclear negotiator, Abbas Araghchi, was quoted today by a semi-official Iranian news agency as saying yesterday that it was possible for Iran and the P5+1 group to reach a comprehensive nuclear agreement. But he pointed out the two sides' major differences on some subjects over the country's nuclear program, adding that there was need for hard work, wisdom and creativity to dilute differences. He went on to say that in case of a failure of talks, Iran would return to 20% uranium enrichment, and also expressed his opinion that failure to reach a comprehensive deal would be a disaster for both sides. Ukrainian government forces reclaimed the port city of Mariupol from pro-Russian separatists in heavy fighting today and said they had regained control of a long stretch of the border with Russia. The advances are significant victories for the Ukrainian government in a military operation to crush the armed separatist rebellion that began in East Ukraine in April. A ministry aide said government forces stormed the rebels after they were surrounded and given 10 minutes to surrender. At least 5 separatists and 2 servicemen were killed in the battle before many of the rebels fled. Mariupol, which has changed hands several times in weeks of conflict, is strategically important because it lies on major roads from the southeastern border with Russia into the rest of Ukraine, and steel is exported through the port. Regaining control of the long and winding frontier is also vital for the government because it accuses Moscow of allowing the rebels to bring tanks, other armoured vehicles and guns across the porous border. Afghan police and soldiers manned checkpoints at almost every intersection in the capital Kabul today, searching vehicles and frisking drivers in a massive security operation ahead of elections to choose a new president. Police who controlled the traffic also searched drivers and passengers for explosives and other weapons. The winner of the election will replace President Hamid Karzai, who has governed these countries since the Taliban were ousted following the US invasion in 2001. But he is now constitutionally barred from seeking a third term. The first round of election in April passed relatively peacefully, but a recent assassination attempt against one of the two presidential hopefuls left in the race ahead of tomorrow's runoff vote has aroused fears of more violence. India has said peace and tranquility on the border is of the highest importance to establish the preconditions for peaceful and normal relationships in the wake of ceasefire violation by Pakistani army in India's Kashmir. As per an Indian defence report, Pakistan fired with semi-automatic and automatic weapons at the Indian posts along the line of control in Poonch and Rajouri districts of India's northern state of Jammu and Kashmir, forcing Indian army to retaliate. After the first such incident of violation, after Narendra Modi-led BJP became the ruling government, Indian Foreign Secretary Sujatha Singh was reacting in New Delhi today, and she also said that her country's policy toward the neighbours was working towards peaceful and cordial relations. The violation also came at a time when Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif came to India to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Modi following the latter's invitation to all the SAARC country leaders. The Dasman Diabetes Institute hosted the second GCC Inconet event, which is a two-day meeting dedicated to strengthening the cooperation between the EU and Gulf countries in a number of areas, including science and technology. The event took place at the Dasman Diabetes Institute and was attended by former Minister of Health Dr. Hilal Al-Sayah and Dr. Hazm Bebahani, Director General of Dasman Diabetes Institute, and many other dignitaries. Correspondent Genwa Jabori has more.
Science, Technology and Innovation International Cooperation Network between EU and GCC states is a project sponsored by the European Commission. The event, which is hosted by the Dasman Diabetes Institute, is dedicated to strengthening the cooperation activities between EU and Gulf countries' cooperation. It further aims at supporting the institutional bi-regional strategic planning and policy dialogue in healthcare and science and technology innovation system.
Today is a special day, and would like to seize this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and also to congratulate the organizers of this event under the leadership of Dr. Bebahani, the director of Dasman Diabetes Institute. This scientific gathering covers two topics. The first one is around the European Union Dasman Diabetes Institute collaboration at GCC level on diabetes research. And the second topic is around an informational day on diabetes, its origins, prevention methods, and complications. I think it is a crucial timing for this event as we are approaching the holy month of Ramadan, and also trying to convince patients about the importance of this problem.
The event, which is a 3-year 2014-2017 project, seeks to engage and collaborate with research-oriented institutions and organizations in science and technology-based projects relevant to the GCC region.
Yeah, today we are here to attend the launch of a very important initiative, which is the Horizon 2020, which is a collaborative effort between the Dasman Diabetic Institute and the INCONET, what we call the collaborative network between the European Union and the GCC. And the idea really is to promote and sort of encourage greater awareness about an extremely important public health challenge, which is the high burden of disease in the context of diabetes in Kuwait and also in the region. So this launch will help us to get a better understanding, but also to promote better awareness among the population on what steps needs to be taken to address this challenge, a challenge which is seriously affecting the population of Kuwait. Currently, over 24% of the population of productive age, the adults are and the children are impacted by the diabetes. So it's a huge problem, and we're really grateful about and happy that this launch is taking place.
In Connect GCC, two further goals are to strengthen the bi-regional cooperation between research and innovation stakeholders, especially in the context of the Horizon 2020 program, and to monitor progress in the bi-regional STI cooperation.
The second GCC network meeting is aimed at promoting joint research through clustering activities within the fields of health innovation, energy and security. From Dasman Diabetes Institution, I'm Kenwa Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
The 2014 World Cup kicked off last night in Brazil with the hosts beating Croatia 3-1 in the opening match of the tournament. A massive encounter will take place between holders Spain and the Netherlands in a repeat of the 2010 World Cup final. The match kicks off 2300 Kuwait time. Others matches include Cameroon versus Mexico, which has just started, and Australia against Chile, which kicks off an hour past midnight Kuwait time. First day of the tournament witnessed protests in the streets of Sao Paulo, but police dealt with them and made sure that the event went on uninterrupted. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. That's all the news for now, but you can join us again for the news brief at 11 p.m. Before we end, here's a quick reminder of today's headlines. First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Khaled Al Hamad Al Sabah praises the deeply rooted relations between Kuwait and Hungary. The UN says hundreds of people are killed in Iraq as the US and the UK consider military options to stop the recent violence in the country. Israeli forces clash with Palestinians as they prevent them from praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque, wounding dozens and arresting others. And Ukrainian government forces reclaim the port city of Mariupol from the pro-Russian separatists after heavy fighting on the border.